And we are live. Welcome everybody to welcome everybody to another Star Trek Discovery discussion. This is, of course, Earth 2 Comic Cast, where superheroes exist and Star Trek talk is the norm. It is really the norm now because
it's the norm now.
It's the new norm. But yeah, again, I'd like to welcome the panel. We're missing one person, but the panel today is Anthony from Draw 4. Anthony?
Oh, okay. Hey. Sorry. A little late. Anthony here from Draw for the Squadcast. That's all I have to say.
And Patrick from Earth 2 Tabletop.
Sure, that's fine.
From there.
Patrick from Earth 2 Comic Cast, I guess now.
Yeah, awesome. So it's always awesome to have you guys on, and it's always awesome to have It's really awesome to have you guys on because usually Patrick and I agree on almost everything, and then you throw Anthony into the mix, and it's like it's a new level of show when Anthony's in the mix. So it's
I don't know that we agree on everything, but
when it comes to Discovery.
When it comes to and that's not even counting Man of Steel.
Because there's Enterprise.
We can't talk about Man of Steel.
No, we can't. It's so amazing how we were able to do that retro discussion.
Yeah.
But I guess because we kept it in the realm of just Superman the movie, we were good.
All right.
All right. So this episode, I've been having trouble with the name. So who wants to go?
What? I thought I thought you were going to explain it to us.
Yeah.
No, I'm good. No. Funny. No, I'm talking about the title of the episode. I have trouble saying it.
It has something to do with death, right?
Yes. It's funny though because it is kind of reference to another. It's the name of. It's been referenced in Star Trek before.
Oh really?
What was the title? What was the title?
Lethe.
I didn't even look.
Lethe. Lethe.
Yeah, but it's not like it's been referenced before, but it's not.
We go from the world's longest title to the world's shortest title.
What?
Because was it this episode or like last episode or the episode before where there was a title?
No, the episode before was the lambs, the butcher's knife. No cares.
Oh, that was
not
2 episodes ago. Yeah.
It's like 6 different words.
A paragraph.
And then we get 5 letters.
1 to 3 words is all a title should be for an episode or something. I don't even pay attention to episodes really, but yeah, damn.
Anyway, so the way we're gonna start this this discussion this week is going to be a little different. I usually would like to do what we missed from last week, but we didn't necessarily miss anything, right?
Right. Did we miss anything? I don't know. Yeah, I think we're good.
No, we didn't. But we're gonna go into the controversy of this week. Like this week was controversy laden. Like I feel like if anyone who didn't like Discovery coming into this week, this was your week to just dump on. Like, I felt like there was so many people complaining about Star Trek Discovery this week, and it was kind of like depressing. It's like, yo, like,
what did they complain about?
I mean, there was a lot of controversy from last week about the F-bomb, about Tilly saying fuck on the show. Everybody's freaking out about that.
Data said shit. I'm pretty sure there were some other cuss words in there at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, they exist. These are evolved.
I also think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that cussing has existed in the movies of Star Trek, but never the show, and that people somehow have separated those out. That like they were totally okay with cussing existing in the movies, but the fact that now it showed up in the show really upset them.
What they really should be concerned about is when the sex scene's going to start. Because if you can say fuck and all shit and all that other stuff, you're going to see the Vulcan
I mean, we kind of got an off-camera scene.
Hey, I'm just saying.
We got an off-camera scene this last week. They move fast. That Lorca moves fast.
Yo, Lorca's that dude.
No, that was a previous hookup.
I know it was a previous hookup, but still,
but he still went into it.
She took her badge off, and it was over. It was like,
Patrick, you've never really been in real trouble, and you'd be like, all right, I got no response to this. Do you want some? That knee touch has got me into and out of more trouble than I could have mentioned on this podcast.
Please, this is Star Trek Discovery. Let's not do that. I don't want no controversy on my show.
I know that's true.
Yeah, that's true though. Yeah.
All right. So one of the big things that was talked about I saw was the Klingon pass. I'm sorry, not the Vulcan pass. You know, of Michael having this whole Vulcan past and why you name dropping Spock, or why is he being name dropped and why are we not seeing him? Again, that to me wasn't a big issue, but people decided to make it an issue. It's a non-issue that became an issue. I saw that today and I was like, this is stupid. Like, so because yeah, it's such a non-issue.
I didn't think that was a deal.
Go ahead.
I mean, we've already established. Yeah,
a name drop to me is when out of nowhere they mention somebody's name, right? But this is like part of the story.
Yeah, this part of the story. It's really mentioned. They don't mention Spock's half older brother. That's kind of weird. They never mentioned him yet. But this was natural. Like, this was just a natural thing. I didn't take it out of it. And Spock showing up at any age is going to be an event. I mean, like, I don't want to cast Spock to show up. It's going to be an event if he ever shows up. And it's kind of like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, the comic book. The reason why the writer said I'm not going to use Sherlock Holmes or anything like that is because it's going to take away from the story of these other characters. Like, Spock showing up, that's going to be the event of when he shows up on at this point.
Yeah.
I don't want him on the show because he's going to take away from what the show is, to be honest. And
it depends on
that's
it's kind of like when Obi-Wan shows up in Rebels.
Yes, when Obi-Wan showed up in Rebels, I was like, it's over.
No. But I enjoyed Obi-Wan. I enjoyed Obi-Wan, but then I got annoyed at seeing any of the other characters. I don't care. Why are you people here? This is about the Obi-Wan. It's the Obi-Wan episode, which is fine for every once in a while. It's fine. Every Star Trek that we've had since the original series has had a major guest star from another series in it. Yeah. If you use it well, like McCoy was in the very first episode of TNG. And as a kid, I didn't realize that until I went back as an adult and watched that first season. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's McCoy. Right. Yeah, Scotty was on there. Deep Space Nine did a whole episode back in the Tribble episode that you showed all the characters. I don't remember what Voyager did, but I'm sure they had to do something at some point. Except it's Voyager, maybe they didn't. I don't care. So
no, but seriously, okay. So, but that was one of the issues. Another one of the issues that this is an issue that started maybe since episode 1. It's coming forward. Like, people are starting to say this is one of the most advanced ships they've seen, and I'm sitting down like, how? The only thing that makes this ship so advanced is the fact that it does the jumps it does. To me, the Constitution class like Enterprise, I don't know. I don't see this ship.
You're right and you're wrong.
Please tell me.
Okay, so points for you is that I'm pretty sure when I saw it that people were going to complain about holodeck technology in this series. And if you watch the animated series of Star Trek, the original Star Trek, that's where the holodeck got introduced. Just because they did it on a regular show doesn't mean it wasn't somewhere else. The Ferengi made it a bigger business type deal with the holo suites, but holodeck technology has been there, and this to me seemed like a very rough version of the holodeck.
Right, it totally did. Which is the way it was in the animated series too. I think that in the animated series, it wasn't like they actually had mass, like you couldn't touch them and that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what this felt like. Like, it felt like it had a video game quality to it.
And you had to be aware of the dimensions of the room, where I feel like in Next Generation, after the room, in my mind, shapes and does optical illusions to fit everybody and everybody's perception in that room. So in that case, if that's what they're complaining about, I totally agree with you. They should shut the fuck up and do their research.
That's all I need to hear. Show over.
No. But it gets you in certain points is you got to admit the communication technology is a big upgrade from the original series, from all the series really. It's a big upgrade, which I'm okay with because the original stuff doesn't really work anymore for the original series. We would all
we are in 2017.
Yeah, we would lose context if they were using the buttons, the hardcore buttons that you have to press down. We'd be like,
like Radio Shack buttons.
Right. The other thing is that the admiral, I think, at one point said this is the most advanced ship in the fleet. So, right. I mean, and I was kind of unsure of the timeline, but apparently the Enterprise is still running around right now, the Constitution class, because they mentioned that in this episode.
It's
so I'm assuming Captain Pike is running it.
Yeah, it's Pike. Pike is running it. Though that means Spock is actually on the ship. He's on the Enterprise right now.
Yeah. So that's my point for and against what you just said.
I agree. There's a really funny point that somebody made on one of the message boards where there's an episode of Next Generation where Picard is asking everybody to like do some research or whatever, and they all bring their little tablets to him on his desk. It's like they didn't even have Wi-Fi or email on Next Generation to just be like, okay, I finished my work. I'm going to email it to the captain. Like they all had to physically walk it down to his office and drop it off. Which
they had different pads for each subject, which is ridiculous to think about it now. But it was advanced back then. I mean, it was advanced back then. To think about, you could mix music or have your whole book on this data pad. They were almost there. They were almost there. They just, you know what I mean? They just missed the mark, which is okay. Because it pushed the science.
Right.
Exactly. And I think that's
what Discovery should never be less advanced than what we have now today, because that just would feel weird to watch.
It would feel exactly. I think that's a complaint that will go both ways, because if they decided to reduce the technology of Discovery to what we have to, to what, 67? That's when the original Star Trek came out. Was it 67, 66?
Sounds right.
Yeah, if I'm sorry. Ooh, Patrick, you're supposed to be on this.
He don't got his glasses on. He don't have his glasses on.
Exactly. No, if you made Discovery look like that, or 10 years before that, I would be totally out of it. Even Enterprise didn't look, which was supposed to be another what do you call it? Another
66.
Prequel series? 67?
Hello?
66, 1966.
66. But wasn't Enterprise supposed to be a prequel series?
Enterprise? Yeah.
What?
Yeah, exactly. So even Enterprise as a prequel series wasn't, looked different from what came before it. So
yeah,
I'm not mad
around with the concept. They played around with the concept. If you think about anything that started like that, that our generation stars sci-fi at the time, like think about Star Wars. There was one point where they're trying to download data from R2D2, and they got this big old power cable they plug into the side of them. I remember even as a kid, a young man, I'm like, no. What really happened is they're putting fuel, energy, and taking data out on that one port. So that's what's going on there.
Right.
But even now, like, what's interesting about Star Wars, though, is they still use that thing where he, like, Archie or whatever, will use, like, a physical dial thing when he connects to computers and stuff. And that feels a little weird now. You're like, Archie, don't you have Wi-Fi? Like, come on, man.
Right.
The problem is, though, they try to stop them hackers, so you need a hard entry point. See, you got to reframe it in your mind, right? You got to get that other level, that next level. And the reason why they still got that ancient-ass barely 3D orange model for targeting systems is because I ain't get to that one yet, but when I do, I will let y'all know.
Fantastic. So, I'm waiting for it.
but see, you gotta look with a grain of salt. And I'm saying at this point, you can't look back at the previous stuff and go, all right, that's what they had at the time. I have to imagine what they were trying to go for and go from there. Like old animation. If you look at old animation, you're like, you can't say that's crap, or old movies, you can't say that's crap. You gotta be like, oh, this is what they had at the time.
I do want to see a sense of progression, though. Like, I want to sense that where they're at is going to get better by the time they get to, like, Next Generation and that sort of thing. It's a hard balance to find, but I do want a sense of progression. If you're going to do a prequel, you got to do that a little bit.
I think Enterprise actually did that right. I think Enterprise actually got that right when it came to technology. They did a really good job of trying to bridge in that gap about keeping it right. Don't Moe. I could give it a little.
Enterprise do.
I give them some props. That's how you know I'm real, because I'm giving them props when they deserve it and call them bull when they don't, which is most of the time. And but like I do want to see that as a progression. I think the communication technology is a little too advanced, but again. When we saw sci-fi in the 90s, they still had analog TV screens. You know what I mean? With static, and you're not gonna see that now.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird to see it now. So,
definitely. All right, so let's get into this week's Discovery episode. Episode 6, as Patrick said, it was Lethe. So this episode was really interesting to me. I kind of liked it, and I kind of saw a little problems with it, but I liked it more than I had a problem with it. It
was the most internal episode, if that makes sense.
Yes, this one felt very personal.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta say that budget. You gotta say that budget where you
can. Everyone, no, seriously, I think that's what it is, because you can't show Discovery traveling every single episode. But this episode ended with Patrick's wish.
Yes, called it. What'd
you call?
She's going on the bridge. I said, there's no way that she is going to be on the lower decks for very long, because all the action, as we know, takes place on the bridge for a starship. And last week, I was starting to think, well, maybe there's a chance they can stretch this out for almost like a whole season before she gets on the bridge. No, episode 6, she is on the bridge like that.
Did she have a rank? Did she have a rank at all yet?
No,
I don't think she does. I think she has a badge, right?
I think he called her a science specialist or whatever. He didn't really give her a rank. She's a science specialist.
So Mo, you thought she couldn't be one of the top science officers we've ever seen in any Star Trek? I'm saying, hold true to that statement.
I'll take it. Okay. Specialist.
So when the president wants to have somebody in the White House, but he doesn't want to have to pass them through Congress, they always names them like special counsel to the president or whatever, special advisor to the president. That's basically what she's the science officer, but he probably doesn't want to deal with all the admirals being like, she can't be a science officer, so she's like science specialist on the bridge.
That makes a lot more sense, actually.
So the real science officer sitting there like all mad and crap, like they
yeah.
Probably.
She got no rank. She ain't got no rank.
Can I give her orders? Like,
right? Who gives her orders? Because she goes. I never heard anybody pull any rank on her except for the old security guard and the engineer guy.
Yeah. No one. Yeah, but no one has ever had to interact with her, so no one really gave her orders. No. Saru did.
Food did. Emergency rations. Yes. He grew some balls at one point in time. I'm casting.
All right. So this episode opens up with Sarek, Ambassador Sarek, going off for a peacekeeping mission with the Klingons. As we all know, and then we get Michael and Tilly training. Michael's giving Tilly advice. Yes, I liked it. I thought they were getting closer together. She was giving her advice on how to get from cadet to captain. And then we got Ash and Lorca fighting. So these are almost the three kind of major points, in the beginning. Ash and Lorca, were training and getting to know each other better. He tells Ash, this Lorca does, that he needs someone he can trust, someone who understands war and knows how to survive. And I'm looking at Lorca like, are you serious? You're really trying to trust this guy? All right, whatever. Not yet. I don't have any suspicions yet.
I do. Since Patrick put it in my head, that's all I can think about, because I ain't seen that albino Klingon yet. And he was like, and then she made a little line like, he took on 6 Klingons? Like, no, I've fought 6 Klingons. No other, because I'm Michael Burnham. No other human could possibly take on more Klingons than I can take.
It gets worse than that. At one point he says, you fight like a Klingon.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you picked up some things. You picked up some things. So every time they said that, Patrick's face smiled in the background like, ha, 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 ha.
So Sarek is on his trip, and then on his trip he gets, his ship gets blown up by. Go ahead.
Michael gonna hit that and have some mad issues about it later. Like, I slept with a Klingon. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, continue.
So Vulcan extremists blow up Sarek's ship because they don't want him to go in. I didn't understand why they blew up his ship.
They're racist. They're racist. That's why.
Pretty much.
But that didn't further their plan. That didn't
didn't do anything for their plan on Vulcan. That just
that we know so far. Well, it furthered their plans in a couple of ways. Number one, we don't know what else could be going on with that faction and the Klingons. Okay. But second of all, it's clear that Sarek is like the front runner diplomat person between Earth and between Vulcan.
So if
he's the one that's kind of like really front running the idea that these two races can work together in peace and doing everything, you know, now it all makes sense. Like I can see this man of logic being like, okay, I need to bring connection between these two planets. How am I going to do that? I'm going to marry myself a human wife. I'm going to adopt a human daughter. I'm going to have a half human, half Vulcan son. I'm going to train them like I'm training a Gundam pilot for one purpose and one purpose only, right? Like now I can see this like logical Sarek and like his kind of machinations and why he would have adopted Michael and why it's Sarek versus any other Vulcan and that sort of thing.
I saw that, and I agree with that because when he said, I was like, oh, this all makes sense. All of Sarek's history makes more sense to me now, and he might have fell into the trap of love, but there was a point to this. I think the other thing I saw for the terrorist point of view was that I kind of feel like the rest of Vulcan is they got one foot into this relationship with the Federation. I mean, they still got their own little exploratory fleet. They already got I'm still sure they probably keep technology to themselves. I think they have 1 foot into the Federation. I feel like Sarek's a really crucial part of them not going like, humans started a freaking war. We dealt with the Klingons. Klingons don't fuck with us. We're out. no, and I feel like that's
totally right.
Yeah, and I feel like if he's gone, probably the most distinguished voice of peace. I'm not saying he's the only one, but I think that Sarek's been there since the beginning. Kind of, this is his cultivated project. If humans, Federation, like all this stuff is stuff he's, kind of been behind in some form and fashion, right? If he goes, I don't know how much support, because even the guy was like, look, because of who you are, we will let one of your not so Vulcans join, but we ain't letting two. And if it was anybody else, we'd be like, no. So I think that, I think that goes a long way to maybe why, but they didn't really explain it well to me.
Okay. Well, so we get back to the mess hall, and we meet Tilly and Michael, and Michael is like, hey, this is what you need to eat, really giving Tilly advice on how to
loving. At first I was a little lukewarm on their relationship. I wasn't so sure, but this episode, some of my favorite scenes are Michael and Tilly interacting.
Right.
Yeah,
and so
I agree.
Tilly's like, hey, that's the guy who took down 6 Vulcans or whatever. I mean, did I skip a part where we've talked about the whole thing with you fight like a Vulcan, you fight like a Klingon, and he's like, yeah, I mean, it's whatever. He's like, oh, I killed 20. How many kills did you have? 22. This is back in the training room.
Yeah.
Captain Lorca says, how many kills did you have? Homie says 20. He looks at Captain Lorca's like, I had 24 kills, and he's like, how many kills did you have? I had 22. I think he wants to downplay himself so he can gain acceptance. And he's doing a good job of it because Lorca isn't seeing anything. Like,
it also establishes something. It establishes he's willing to lie.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I don't want to look at the actor roster. I don't know if they've released it yet, but I don't want to look at who's playing what part because I never got this guy doesn't have the same mannerisms as the Klingon at all. The other problem is we don't have a concept of time really in this show. Like, we don't know what 7 months versus 7. You know what I mean? Like, versus a week to week, we don't know how much time has passed. Because if only a couple weeks have passed since he decided to infiltrate the Federation, he did a really good job for
how did he learn the language so fast and stuff?
So fast, right?
And mannerism and cultures, and I wonder if his name Ash is related to something because he's albino and he named himself Ash. Like, I thought that might be something that might be there. There's a lot of questions that I think.
Yeah.
I would need to see. So I would need to see how this is, but I'm kind of liking it because I'm kind of liking it. But you're gonna have to explain some stuff for it to really work for me.
I agree.
And then him being
out of nowhere.
And Mud's not above. Oh, sorry.
Him saying he's from Seattle, and Lorca's like, yeah, nah, your mom taught school outside of Seattle, 22 kilometers outside of Seattle. And then Lorca's like, and he's like, he looks caught. And Lorca's like, nah, it's okay. I just like to split hairs. And I just think Lorca's just so fond of him so quick. And I don't understand why yet.
I mean, the two of them did fight their way out of prison together, so there's something to that. Yeah. But Ash, there's something going on with Ash no matter what.
Yeah. One, he doesn't have any major character flaw yet, and I think they've made a really good point of putting character flaws in everybody so far.
Right.
Your food.
Even food. delicious food. And the only thing that makes sense is for something. I mean, because like the only person that can vouch for him being in jail that long time is Mud. Mud isn't really trustworthy, as we know. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities for Mud to be paid to lie to bolster this guy's story, right?
True. Anyway, so go ahead.
I'm saying it's a good setup if that's what's happening.
All right, so we have this whole mess hall meeting. You know, Ash, Tilly, Michael. They meet. You know, Michael's acting really awkward to him because it's like, oh, he killed 6 Klingons, and Michael's like, oh, I've fought Klingons. Okay. They're not that easy. And I'm Vulcan. I know Vulcan Kung Fu. Anyway, she was so jealous. She was so jealous. She didn't even try to shake his hand. But, now
when she shook his hand and she starts having the seizure or whatever, I thought something was going on when she was detecting that he was not human.
I just thought that she didn't like touching filthy humans.
Anyway, so she has the seizure, and she sees that Sarek is dying, and she gets transported into the day she graduated. We're seeing her, Sarek, and her mother, Amanda, talking, and Sarek is like, who let you in here? This is my mind. Get out of here. So he pushes her out, and I'm like, all right, fine. So
that's not the only thing that happened.
What else?
So I have a problem with this thing because I know it was a mental battle, but they were doing Kung Fu, and she kept getting the upper hand over Sarek.
Well, we haven't gotten there.
I thought I saw Sarek take her down every time.
Yeah, in the beginning, he took her out. And then I think when Sarek was...
It seemed like Sarek beat her every time they tried to do a physical fight.
No, it was towards the end of it. When she was using the enhancers and Sarek was dying. I think when he was dying, his mental, I'm just saying, you're around death, so your mind is breaking down, so you're not going to be as strong as whatever. That's what I think. Again, this was more of a mental battle than a physical battle because I believe physically Sarek will take her down every time.
I will concede that point that if it was probably a mental battle on a psychic plane, it wasn't really a physical battle. But I just kept thinking the moves that you're using, because she arm locked him a couple times.
She did. Like, she was definitely holding her own. She was holding her own, but I thought I remembered every time Sarek basically popping her out of the mind link.
You're right. It was every time.
Oh, go ahead, Mo.
It was every time till the last time when she's like, look, you're dying.
Yeah, but the last time she kind of uses like diplomacy and talking to bring things down, not physical power. Like every other time, it's a physical fight. And I think it's cool that it's through martial arts because you know what it reminded me of? Remember in the movie Hero when they have that like fight that's totally in their mind?
Yeah,
exactly.
So that's why I don't like it. But go back and watch the it was the 3 confrontations because I was watching this and I was like, if this was chess, she kept putting him in check a lot, and then at the end he pushes her out of her mind. So it was like lock. No, get out.
Okay.
So,
again, I think again it had something to do with the fact that she was enhanced and his mind was breaking down because he was dying, or he was near death. He didn't have enough power to hold on to himself anymore. I mean, he was passed out. She had to, what did she call it again? The thing.
The neural enhancers.
Yeah, no. She had to do the Vulcan mind thing to kind of wake him up.
Oh, she did that. She also put him in a nerve pinch. She did a bunch of stuff.
Mind meld. Yeah,
the mind meld.
And during the fight, she did the pinch. I mean, it just seemed a way to. But go ahead. That was my nitpick.
All right. Anyway, so we learned what happened the day she was in school, and when she was in the Vulcan school, we learned that it was the extremists and not the Klingons, as we were led to believe in the season premiere. So we learned a lot of things in that one scene.
It happened. She had 2 times. The 2 times it happened. Once was the. No, did I miss that? I thought the first time was the Klingon. There was a second bombing. That was the.
No, when she was Yes, when she was a youngin learning school, when she was a young girl, when Sarek adopted her, he adopted her because the Vulcans were the ones who bombed the school.
Wait, what?
And
what?
Yes, she was led to believe. She was led to. Wasn't it the Vulcans who bombed the school?
I thought it was Klingons. I thought it was Klingons.
So the Klingons,
Vulcans.
The Klingons killed her family, and then the Vulcans bombed the school.
Yeah, you're right. And it was they bombed the school because she was going there, right?
Right.
Well, I think we learned that they bombed it because Sarek was there and she's there, and so they wanted to kill Sarek. They've been wanting to kill Sarek for a long time, but they missed him. They got her, so he did the what was it called again? Krynak? Katra. You know, he infused her with Katra, and that's why she can see him now.
And that's how they're explaining the long distance communication.
Long distance mind meld, yes. So Lorca wants to do this mission. You know, after he's been told not to do it, he wants to do this because he has something to prove. If you remember, you guys all watched the season premiere for Enterprise, right?
Yeah.
You guys remember Archer's whole beef was you guys are hiding things away from us. You guys don't want to involve us. I feel like that in that moment, Lorca was Archer to me.
Yeah.
Because the whole reason Archer got Enterprise and blah 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 was because he had something to prove to the Vulcans. And so yes. And then we get a really cool scene with Stamets in this episode, and he just looked like a different version of Stamets.
He's high.
Seriously.
He's either high, he's been snorting a little too many of those spores, or this is the mirror universe.
Because Stamets just seems so well put together sometimes, and this episode he just seemed out of it. I was like, yes.
If somebody on my crew start acting like that, the very next day, what you taking? Pee in this cup. You pee in this cup right now. God damn it. That was weird. But I enjoyed it.
And his boyfriend's a medical officer. He doesn't even notice that.
Right.
Nope. I would think his boyfriend's writing him prescription drugs. That's what I would think's going on.
Getting him that Oxycontin.
Also, what was weird is that they mentioned drugs on Star Trek, for like our time drugs on there. I that was kind of weird. That threw me out. That threw me out of it. Like, because oh, go ahead.
I welcome all of that, to be honest. I welcome all the references, all the cultural references that aren't dated. I like, the current reference, like Speed. I mean, technically Speed is kind of dated, but it's still like, them referencing it. Like,
but you gotta think 10 years from now, like when someone mentions gasoline or tobacco, you got the Enterprise crew going, wait, you mean they used to use gas to pollute their own ozone, or what do you mean they consume this plant? Oh my gosh. Like so I'm kind of confused about what.
I disagree, because I think good sci-fi grounds itself. There should always be hints of things from the past a little bit.
But it doesn't line up. That's what I'm saying. Like that doesn't line up.
But you see how no one else. Oh, this is how, like, I feel like Patrick is saying, yes, it grounds itself, but Lorca and what's her name, Michael didn't budge, because I don't think they understood the reference.
Yeah.
So
that to me felt really good.
All right, it could, like I said, it could just be me, but to me, it threw me out of it just because I know that in 10 years from now, that crew doesn't know anything about drugs. So like the reference.
He's dating a medical officer.
I don't see the connection. I've dated people with medical degrees. I couldn't tell you crap about some drugs. I'm just guessing. But he might pay more attention than I do. Anyway, I can guarantee. Right. Anyway, I'm just saying it threw me out of it. But I guess we could say the same argument about the cursing, which didn't throw me out of it. So right. It could be my own personal preference on that one.
I agree. It's a personal preference.
Yeah. Okay.
Moving on.
Moving on. So he was so out of it, but he explained to them that if they did, because Lorca wanted to transport into the nebula, and he's like, if you do that, the nebula and the spores is going to cause the ship to blow up. So Michael suggests taking a ship out there.
That, by the way, could be a real problem later on.
Right.
Like, let's not forget that now Discovery near nebulas, which for whatever reason in Star Trek like show up every 5th episode or something. Yeah, they're like everywhere. Like, are combustible. That could be a gun on the wall. It could be a problem.
So, all right, so Michael suggests that they take her, that she and Tilly go out on a vessel and just go out there and try to find them. And
is this the first time we get to see? I guess not, because of the prison ship. Was the prison ship also a transporter or
no
shuttle rather?
No, it was actually a ship.
It was a ship. So this is our first view of the shuttle in this universe, right?
No, second.
No, it's second because third.
The other shuttle, the shuttle got. Oh no, so the shuttle he got caught when he got caught by the Klingons. That was a shuttle.
That's right. That's right.
The prison transport in episode 2 was on episode 3. And the prison transport, the episode he got caught, and this episode. So we've seen the shuttles.
I just felt like I hadn't seen a shuttle as clearly as this episode, or it just didn't stick with me like it did this episode.
You might be right, because this episode kind of had a bunch of its action take place on a shuttle.
Right. Yeah, more exterior shots and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Can we appreciate how beautiful all these ships looked? Like, since it's just the beginning of the series, like the Vulcan ship we saw, like I could tell you pretty much all the other races' styles, but I don't really think we've gotten a lot of Vulcan ships, and this was amazing to me. You know, I was like, oh man, okay, cool, I'm enjoying this, and
also just the way Vulcan itself looked was awesome.
Yeah, because we usually get desert as a desert, so getting more of Vulcan is really interesting. Getting more types of Vulcan has been interesting. I was gonna say something else. Oh, if we get to see the Constitution class, I hope it is an updated version of the Constitution class. You know, I don't want it to be all gray like everything else, but I would like to see it just a little updated. You know what I mean? Even the J.J. Abrams one might work, but just I don't want to see the original model because I wouldn't fit. It would take me really out of this whole world.
I'd be okay with the refit, although I guess it wouldn't make sense. But the refit styling looks fine for Discovery, I think.
Refit from what?
From the Constitution class. You know what they get after the first Enterprise blows up?
I know
in the movies. Yeah,
that might work. But
that's also what the Discovery Bridge is clearly based on. If you look at the Discovery Bridge and the Constitution refit bridge, it's it's almost exactly the same bridge.
Oh, okay.
All right. So moving on, Lorca now suggests Ash be the pilot of this mission. And he walks into the shuttle and he's like, "Oh, hey, Ash, just make sure you bring her back in one piece,
or don't come back. Don't come back.
Ash is like,
keep on flying."
Ash is like, "Yeah, I'll bring the shuttle back," and he's like, "No, I meant her." Again, kind of insinuating that there is a problem with members of the crew and Michael. Because this was talked about again in the episode. If we get, as we're gonna get closer to it, so they leave on the mission. Admiral Cornwell, comes in and is like, "Hey, no one asked you to go on this mission. Blah blah blah. What's wrong with you? You're making these decisions, these horrible decisions. I don't even know, what kind of, why you're trying to demean yourself or lower yourself even more in the eyes of your colleagues." And he's like, "Look, I don't care. I'm trying to win this war." And he's like, "Nah, but there are rules." And he says this. The reason I have this written is because it comes back. She says there are rules. And he says, almost fuck the rules. Rules are for admirals and back offices. I'm out here trying to win a war. And she's like, don't let you trying to win this war kind of isolate you from everyone else. And he's like, you know what? And the reason I have that written down, again, I'll bring it back because this comes back to the end of the episode where she's captured and Sarah's like, "So what are we going to do?" And Sarah's, I'll get to it. Let me not get ahead of him myself. All right. So he plies up with alcohol. He was like, "Hey, look, man, like, I know we have this history together." And she's bringing
alcohol
up all and she's the one part that had me kind of thrown off, that had me question Lorca in this episode is, okay, so are you or aren't you? Because she says to him, "Hey, you remember when we went to go visit the nebula, whatever star system it was? When we want to go look at the Parasites meteor shower or whatever," she said. And he's like, Yeah, that was such a long time ago. He brushes it off very smoothly, brushing it off. Clink, drink some more, and it's like,
he
okay,
can't look thirsty. He can't look thirsty. So go ahead. I'm sorry. Continue.
It's like, Clink, drink some more, and next thing you know, she's like, oh, you know what, whatever, and we find out that she's a shrink. Cornwell is a shrink.
Which is cool. I like that. I mean, I've always liked about Star Trek that it seems like you can come up to a level of captain or admiral from these different paths.
Yes.
I mean, we see that with Worf all through Deep Space Nine, right? He goes from security into command. So I think it's cool.
Apparently, Crusher becomes a captain in the future too, based on, and she's a medical doctor.
Right.
I like the therapist.
Go ahead. You were saying?
He just likes she's a therapist. He's a therapist, so he likes that she's a therapist.
I know, right?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I like that she's a therapist. Because again, like Patrick's saying, like we've had different types of captains. Like Jean-Luc Picard wasn't an engineer; he was a diplomat and a wordsmith, pretty much. Cisco was an engineer, pretty much. Cisco was always tinkering with something. I don't know what Janeway was. I think Janeway was probably one of the most natural explorers we've seen. If I can give Janeway any credit, I think that would be it. And Kirk
Janeway
was
Kirk. I would say Kirk was also natural explorer. He just wanted to go see stuff.
Yeah, he just was excited about seeing stuff.
And screw it. That's
and
Kirk
he was smart. He was actually really smart.
He was like the dude on Vikings or whatever. Is like, just give me a boat and I'm going.
Yes,
what's over there?
Floki.
You got food? You don't even know what. But I want their ale. I want their ale.
And their women.
The ale, their women. That's what Kirk is all about. See, Kirk needed Spock.
No, he really does. Okay, so moving on. We get Michael going back again to, the day she graduated. She has the enhancers now, so she goes back to the day she graduated. And she's fighting and she's holding her own. And her vitals, just don't look really good. And Tilly being, Tilly's like, should I pull, she had told Tilly in the beginning not to pull her out, but Tilly's like, look, I feel concerned. Ash was like, yeah, there's concern, pull her out. And so they pull her out.
Concerned for himself. he listens to Lorca. He knows he's got to survive. He doesn't care about Sarek. He's just like, Michael does not die.
Yeah, he's like, I like you, but you aren't my favorite yet. You better bring her back.
Yes. Oh, and then we finally get Captain and Admiral sexing. It was pretty good. We didn't see them sexing, but they took it off screen or whatever. You know what's funny? Aren't these episodes rated MA?
I think so. I don't know what they're rated.
Look, if one thing stuck out with me about Todd McFarlane was like, I wanted to do an HBO show. HBO came to me to do a show, and I was like, can I cuss? And he's like, yeah. You can say any way you want. And he's like, oh yes, because if I can say fuck, I can show titties, I can show sex. Yes, done. I'm doing this show. I think they snuck in a Game of Thrones Star Trek with us. Like I think everybody was like, oh, it's Game of Thrones. Of course, it's Game of Thrones. Everything's Game of Thrones. And they were like, oh crap, this is Game of Thrones. We are going to see some booty. I have. It might not be this season. But it's coming. It's coming. We're going to go to. We're going to go to Riza. We're going to see the real Riza. The Riza we really couldn't see. We're going to see that Riza.
The internet is going to break if we see booty on Star Trek. Just so you know.
We know there's a whole planet in Starfleet that's devoted to sex. There's a whole planet devoted to. If you're stressed, go to this planet, and everybody literally wants to.
I forgot about that.
24 hours.
Like seriously.
9 episode where they go there, and the terrorists or whatever. Yeah.
And they're like, we don't want to have sex. You need some sex. They didn't say it. They said you need. They I forget what they called it, but it's like you need some. Calm your ass down. We got a planet. Yeah. So that's my. Go ahead. Continue. I'm sorry.
All right, moving on. So when they pull her out the first time, pull Michael out, Ash is like, look, anytime what I know about being a human and knowing about dying or death or being close to death is I don't think about someone else failing me. I think about either my greatest failure or what I couldn't do back then, something of the sorts. And in my notes, I swear I have this written. I was like, you almost had me fooled, Ash. Like you almost had me fooled.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm paying attention to the scene, and I'm like, oh, he's speaking the truth. I'm like, no, he's not. Don't listen to him. But whatever.
Little albino occultist. He got a little game. Baby. It's okay. I know all about that. Let me tell you something, baby. I got you, baby.
So
All
right. So, well, we kind of figure out that Spock is Michael's younger adopted sister. Sarek is, what Sarek thought he was doing. He was kind of like propping Spock up. Was his big failure? Spock is Michael's younger sister. I'm sorry. Spock is Michael's younger brother.
Yeah.
Yes. Sarek is Michael is kind of Sarek's biggest failure, because what she wanted when she was with him was to go into the Vulcan exploration force or whatever.
Yeah.
Expeditionary force. And yes, and so by him telling them, he was given the right to choose, pick one of your two non-Vulcan kids. He chose his son, which is again fair because that's blood of his blood. I mean, that makes more sense than everything.
But also, Spock is half Vulcan, whereas Michael is human. So I could see. Again, I'm trying to use logic because that's what Sarah is using, right? From a logical standpoint, it would make sense for him to be like, we'll put the half Vulcan in the Vulcan group, and we'll put the full human into the Federation. And
yeah. So that made more sense. It also brought some light to why they didn't talk for like 2 decades after Spock did this, because it wasn't all Spock disobeying him. Part of it was his own guilt about
what he did to Michael.
And then Spock just like he made a hard decision that he probably could have lived with, and then Spock was like, yeah, that doesn't mean anything. Now Spock didn't know because they don't communicate. They don't communicate like that. Like they're not going to have that Michael Sarek conversation. Which is amazing to me still that. I don't know if you want to talk about that yet, because I only got a few more minutes.
Hey, I told you when we started, think back to episode 1, Anthony. I said, if this show is good, it's actually going to make Spock's character even more interesting and give us new light about Spock.
Yes.
And at that time, you were like, I don't like that. That's going to be stupid. That's not going to work. But
I didn't. We can go back to that show. I didn't say it was stupid.
We have audio.
But I think it's working so far. I think this episode at least worked in that way. And what's cool about Sarek is Sarek spans all of what he doesn't show up in Enterprise, I would assume, but beyond Enterprise, he shows up.
He does.
He does?
And was it episode 1?
He's in everything. He's like the thread of Star Trek.
He's definitely in episode 1 because he's the bridge between Vulcans and So after Admiral and Captain sex, Cornwell examines Lorca's scars, and she's looking at these
those scars are
like everything I've seen before. Yes, and so he wakes up.
They've definitely had sex before. And the way she reacted, I don't think those scars were there before. Yeah. And I don't think they're from the Klingon torture. So
no, it's from
they could have been.
And then she.
I mean,
right.
He wasn't even on the last time they banged could have been college, because he was like, that was so long ago. It could have been Starfleet Academy. You know what I mean?
College. Anyway.
That's college. We know it's college. That is college if you want to go. Let's go. Gotta go. You gotta explore.
Especially in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
Anyway, he wakes up. He wakes up out his sleep, and I said trip. He wakes up out of sleep, points a phaser to her neck, and she's like, yo, what the hell is wrong with you? Gets up in a fit of rage, puts her clothes on. It's like, I can't believe I slept with you. And it didn't even feel right. And when she said that again,
girl, you were talking all that crap when he put you to sleep. So but can I point out something about that? The minute she slept with him, I mean, I don't know how rules work in the future, but now you can be like, look, her opinion is biased as hell. We banged on this night, and this night. We banged 3 times that night. She got mad. It got a little rough. I need another opinion. So
Right. And that kind of makes sense. But she's like, oh, I'm an admiral, blah, 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 blah. She then tells him, look, this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna leave, and then I'm getting you off the ship, blah blah blah. And she's like, please don't get me off the ship. This is the only thing I have left. And she says to him, it's a shame that I can't even tell if this is the real you talking to me. And walks off. That's again, to Anthony's point, you just slept with me, so I don't really care what you have to say anymore. Your opinion.
What I thought was interesting about that line is that's true for us as well as the audience. Like, we don't know what we're dealing with Lorca, but we don't know if that's just who Lorca is. But now we know that's not who Lorca is. In other words, there was a time before this where Lorca may have looked more like a normal Starfleet officer.
A captain.
And now he's something else. And so we didn't know that before. For all we knew, he was like this all the way back to Starfleet until this scene happened.
You know what this was? Did y'all ever watch Trinity, Firefly, the show? Did y'all watch Firefly?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how you saw Mal before the loss of the war, when he was like in the trenches and happy and like genuinely happy, not like using happiness as a defense.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I always pictured Mal as, I loved him because he was Han Solo if the rebellion lost the war. That's what I always pictured him as. He's Han Solo if everybody died and his Chewie was a hot black lady and they didn't lose the war. I like that he's what all the other characters that didn't turn into it, because remember, we've seen captains that have lost a lot become this. O'Brien's old captain on the in Next Generation, when they were going after the Klingons, he's like, I'm not Klingons, when he's got the Cardassians, he's like, the Cardassians are hiding something. The Cardassians are hiding something. Mm-hmm. You guys don't know what it's take. The Maquis Starfleet captains, we used to follow the captains that don't break. They don't look in the abyss and reflect the abyss at some point. They're able to go, no, I'm going to hold on to who I am.
Whoa, you just connected to the name of the episode. Sorry, go on.
All right.
Oh, did I? What was the name of the episode again? I thought it was
Lethe, which apparently means like abyss. So
Lethe.
Sorry, go on.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
All right. So
look at that. Look at that. I'm gonna shut up now. I'm ahead. Keep going.
All right. So he's so we've saved Sarek at this point. She's told Sarek, look, let me save you, let me help you, and so she does the thing and she saves him, and Sarek is back on our ship. And
the thing I love through the whole thing of like the fact. Oh, I guess we kind of already talked about Sarek choosing.
Yeah,
sure.
Earlier when we find out, yeah. So,
Anthony's in a wind tunnel.
Oh, can y'all hear all that? Okay. I just got in my car. I gotta start.
Yeah.
Walking. I'll mute it. Go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
He tells what's the name? Michael says to Lorca, thank you for, the mission. Thank you for helping me save him. And Lorca says to Michael, I didn't do this for him. I need a team around me who's going to help me take the day. And
I thought of Anthony's Mass Effect connection before.
Right. And I really loved him saying that, because that made me think of something that you guys said, in the beginning. When I remember when we started this and I said, I would serve under Lorca, and you guys were like, no, if you were like, he would, if you were stuck on a planet, he wouldn't come back for you. And this makes me think, if Lorca likes you, like if he really, really likes you, no?
He'd still leave you on that planet. He likes you, and he would say, oh, I'm really sad, and then he would warp off.
I think he'd come back. Anyway, so he tells her this is where she gets promoted to a science specialist, and she gets promoted to the bridge. And so now we have, in my opinion, this is where it's going to start the ensemble. From this point on, we're going to start going on, having more of an ensemble.
I think Lorca sees her value. So we have a Michael. So now we really understand. Michael graduates top of her class in a Vulcan academy, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She is like I said, trained from the moment she's adopted with all of this purpose. She's then trained under what is clearly one of the greatest Starfleet captains of all time, because wasn't her name on Michelle Yeoh's character's name was on that list? Yes, so she's one of the greatest Starfleet captains of all time. So you have Sarek training her, and then you have, I keep forgetting Michelle Yeoh's character's name, but Giorgio. Philippa pouring into her. So you now have in Michael like one of the most valuable brains, I guess you could say, in all of Starfleet. And so I think that's what Lorca sees in her is pure value. I don't know that he necessarily just likes her for anything beyond his own kind of ends. And he says that the whole time, like, to put her in jail is a waste.
Right.
He keeps pushing this idea that they're wasting a resource by putting her in jail. So I think that's how Lorca envisions her more than anything. It's not, I don't think it's very personable. Lorca just likes to assemble people who are good at what they do.
Which makes sense. So moving on, he then okay, so now she's promoted him, he's promoted her. She's now the I'm sorry, how do I say this? She's now the science specialist on the ship.
Science specialist.
Yes. And so she goes in to ask Sarek, like, hey, we're going to talk about what happened. Do you remember what happened during the mind meld? And Sarek says to her, no, I don't, I was gone. I don't remember anything. And she says, no, we are going to talk about this. Like she says to him, oh, you think you're going to get away? We're going to talk about this when it's time. So right now you can think of, you can just do whatever you want to do, get better. We're going to talk about this. Dad walks out. Yes, I thought that was a very, very strong thing to do. So she walks out of there and she walks into the mess hall again, and she orders her. She gets her tea and she walks into. Oh, Anthony just left, by the way. Thank you, Anthony. Yeah. If you watch this later, she walks into the mess hall again and orders her tea and goes over to talk to Ash, and they had this thing, and he said something to her, and she looked. Look, I don't know about you, but yeah, I saw this look.
All right, explain it to me again. Remind me, refresh my memory.
Okay, so I don't remember exactly what. Okay, they were talking, and he's like, "Hey, look, so how like what's going on with you? Like what's what's the deal? Hold on, I'm sorry. What's the deal? Like what's going on with you? How, like they're talking. I forget what they were talking about, but anyway, so they're talking, and she says, "Hey, it's okay," and she says, "Hey, I'm sorry about whatever it is you thought about me," and it's like, no, like don't worry about it, forget it, and he says, that's just what family does or whatever. This is how people who love you fight. And so I don't know if that connected with no. She goes, I'm angry, but I feel love. I hate him or something, but I just feel like compassion.
She like lists a bunch of things like that. Okay, yeah, I remember.
And he said something to her, and she had this look in her eye, and I was like,
You think she's on to him?
Ash.
Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha. Yes, I got that.
Michael and Ash, and I was like, okay, well, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be a lot of fun. Like going to Anthony, this is gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
but
the problem is, I wish I didn't have this theory about Ash because I kind of like him, but that's probably on purpose to make me like him.
Right? No, seriously, this is to make us feel a way about Ash, only for us to now come around and it's like he's the bad guy.
Turn out he's totally fine. And then I'll have to rewatch all those episodes and allow myself to connect with him better. Yeah.
All right. So
it's got me going. It's got me going like a Game of Thrones episode in some ways. So
yes. And so we get to Culinary. Was it Culinary? Not calamari. Canar. We get to this planet, and we see. So finally, after this episode, after that scene, she says, "Okay, Sarek was supposed to go to this mission. Now he can't go. Who's gonna go in his stead?" Sorry, Lorca goes,
"Oh yeah, we haven't gotten to that part yet."
Yeah, Lorca goes, "Hey, why don't we send why don't we send Admiral Cornwell over, and she can do this. And so she goes, she agrees to do it.
I was like, she's dead. The moment he said that, I was like, oh man, she is going to die. Like a villain that just discovered Superman's secret identity, she is dead. She's dead, dead, dead.
And you're right, because I'm like, okay, well, this isn't going to end well for her. Obviously, of course, we know how this happened. So she tells him before she leaves, she's like, hey, look, I am not. Don't think I forgot what we talked about. I'm gonna come back from this, and we're gonna figure out how to get you. It's peacefully resign your position and get off and go get the help you need, and then maybe come back.
How come these people can never send their reports before they go on there? I mean, there's got to be some travel time. You got a computer there on the shuttle. Just type it up.
Right. Like
type it up.
No,
Email,
but seriously,
enter.
It's crazy. You're right. It's crazy though. Like they never ever have reports. It's always like, hey, so let's we're about to do this, but before we do this, let's go handle
this other life-threatening thing just in case. Anyway, you think he set her up? You think he set her up?
I don't think he has that reach.
Okay, that's what I
think
thought
he
too.
knew. I think he knew something bad was going to happen.
I think once he realized how things could go, he pushed things that direction. Yes. But I think that it also made pure logical sense that like she's the only person close enough to be able to do this thing, and she should have just had a phone call. It's her fault for flying out there.
Seriously, it's all her fault. I blame her. But who else can you blame? Like that's just
the Klingons who murder the attacker. But anyway, sorry, go on.
No, but you're right. Like it's one phone call, one holocom call. You're there. Like what? Did you have no service?
I don't know.
That's the other thing.
It was. Anyways, yeah.
So, we're gonna come back. You're gonna get off your ship and blue. So we get to cut. I forget. Cancri 4. Okay. That's the name of the planet. Not Calamari. Cancri 4.
And we see a different clan or whatever of Klingons, right?
Yes.
My sense with these guys weren't in the war yet, and that was
no. Were they?
My sense was that this was a clan that wasn't at war yet, and so that's why the Vulcans were trying to connect with them to like use them.
No. What was said? Actually, you're right. What was said was they were, but they were trying to come. Like they were like, look, we don't want this war. We don't, we don't want to lose, because they figured there was a chance of them losing because what's it called? Discovery was killing. Apparently, Discovery has been going on a mission, so Discovery has been winning, and so it's like, hey, look, we don't want this beef. We're gonna come. We're gonna tell you how to, we want peace. So like, come on, bring us in. We'll tell you what's going on. It was pretty much like defectors. They were defectors. They planned to be defectors and stuff like that. So the elders of Cancri 4 had set this meeting up, but they were bamboozled by General Call and Denas, which was the female Klingon in that episode, the one that had the stuff on her face. Anyway, so they were like, look, this is, so for your price for helping us, helping me, General Cole, capture someone that's high up in Starfleet, you get cloaking technology. You get to come into the great houses of Klingon, and you get cloaking technology.
So can you explain something to me? Because in the Enterprise, don't like Klingons, aren't they just like cloaking all over the place?
Yes, Klingons already have cloaking in Enterprise, which is kind of weird because the whole if you go back to Enterprise episode 1, which is a lot again, which introduced us to the Klingons a lot more than people had known up to that point. But yeah, they had already started cloaking.
Huh.
Yeah. So, but I think this is where they get it from.
Yeah. Maybe just one clan cloak, or I don't know. I was just curious.
I wasn't fully aware of how much cloaking was done in Enterprise. Yeah. But so Saru comes up and tells, hey, sir, Lorca, she's been, your girl's been captured, but what do we do? Your girl's been captured. What do we do? And he's like, call up Starfleet. and we'll wait for orders. And Star was like, but sir, you know, we've done missions without.
Whenever somebody else gets captured, we just go.
Yeah, and he's like, call up Starfleet, and we'll wait. We'll follow orders, and that's why I had that. You know, rules are for admirals written down and noted it, because all of a sudden now you want to follow the rules again. To your point, she's about to take a ship from him, so no, I'm not going to save him. But I feel like he will, and eventually after saving her, she'll see something and be like, you know what,
you're needed. He will. You think he will?
I think he'll be forced to, and it's going to be something where it's like she'll see it. She's going to be like, hey, okay, so I understand. Or on the rescue mission, she dies.
Right. Okay. I don't know. I think he's like, oh, I'm just following orders.
No, but Lorca doesn't want to lose his ship, and he's going to sacrifice his ex-girlfriend to go get it, you know, to protect it. So
it's pretty interesting how much he clings to that ship,
because it's his last chance. He lost his other ship.
That's true.
He was hurt. He was probably not supposed to be a captain anymore. You know, he lied through his psyche vows. Yep. And they finally gave him command of another ship. Maybe it's like who would I say, like Kirk, who's like, I'm supposed to be captain. You know, I have to be. This is all I have.
Yeah.
Something like
that's
that.
Fair.
So yeah, that's my estimation of Lorca. But that's the episode, and that's so. What did you think about this one? You know, besides everything.
You know what? This is the first episode where I kind of like lost myself in the episode. I don't know if that makes sense, but it was just Star Trek. Like, to me, I was just watching a Star Trek episode. I wasn't thinking about, ooh, do I like this new Star Trek episode? Do I like this new Star Trek? How am I comparing it to Next Gen and Deep Space Nine and blah, blah, blah? Like, I was just watching Star Trek and enjoying Star Trek. And that is a good sign. And it was very much more ensemble again. And it was, I love that we got, I think one of the hardest things they were going to have to navigate is why in the world does Sarek have this human daughter that he never talked about? Mm-hmm. That's been a concern I've had the whole time, and I thought they were just going to take an easy, one sentence throw out as to why. But instead, I think it elevates Sarek's character, and it also elevates Spock's character.
Wow. Well, you're right. So
that's and the good job. Like the movies and stuff, there was too much action. So
yeah. So this kind of brought everything down a little bit and made it. Yeah. Just this was Star Trek pretty much without Discovery. This was just Star Trek. It's
right. If I could have seen this being like an episode on any other Star Trek in a lot of ways.
Exactly. This could make it on any show, Enterprise, DS9, TH. This was as Star Trek as Star Trek gets. And I think a lot of people had a problem with the fact that, okay, well, if you're going to make Discovery without, trying to connect it to the Star Trek lore so bad, but you can't.
No. Yeah, that'd be dumb.
It'd be so dumb. Another thing I saw was people saying, hey, why didn't they make this, an episode after Voyager instead of setting it in the past? But this makes. I
have a lot of thoughts on that.
Oh, I know. I read all your your statuses. So, I really like this one again in terms of just being a Star Trek episode, and we finally.
Part of it is like just let the writers tell their story. Everybody needs to shut up and just let the writers tell their story. And once we get a little further down the road, you can start to really talk about what that story is and whether you like that story and all that kind of stuff. But let them tell their story first.
Exactly. This show hasn't even gotten into anything. It's just started. So you can't sit down and say, hey, it's really just getting on its own foot. Yes, it's 6 episodes deep, but you still need to let the story flesh out. So I'm sorry, I am not seeing that complaint of, maybe where they should have taken the story instead. I'm enjoying what I'm getting, to be honest. It's been a while for Star Trek on TV, and I'm enjoying looking at it every week. And what I'm enjoying most is looking at it in movie quality, because another complaint is we get so much Abrams universe in this, and I'm like, well,
I don't think it is Abrams' universe. I think it's just good, better budget. I think the problem is any way that you would spend that budget on special effects are going to get you closer to the movies, just because it's good special effects versus bad special effects.
Exactly. We're in 2017. Just like Anthony was saying before he left, you can't have those 66 visuals anymore. So again, you had said something, I think, a while ago when I brought up the holocoms, and you were like, look, there was a concept back in the day of what they were trying to do with comms. Yeah, so they couldn't do it then, maybe because of the TV or the color on the TV, black and white.
Roddenberry already had that idea to do things like this. It just, he couldn't figure out how to make it work.
So this is just them taking that concept of that idea and making it happen in our future. So I like it. I'm all for it. Again, this was another episode I felt was strong on its own. Besides, if you took it out of the show, this episode could last on its own. Like, I could take it. Yeah. So
if it wasn't for the fact that there was so much of the kind of backstory being clearly episodic episode, like, you didn't necessarily need to know the greater plot of what was going on for this episode. I definitely want to put in that I'm really excited about next week's episode, because that looks like like a real Star Trek episode.
Like take it out of a real Star Trek episode, it looks more sci-fi than anything. It's like this Groundhog Day, repeat the day over and over and over and again.
Which is one of my, by far, one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek ever is Cause and Effect, which is an episode of Next Generation where they keep cycling over and over again, and they're picking up clues each time. So I'm really excited about it. I hope it's not exactly that episode, but I hope so too. In some ways I wouldn't even mind, because I like the call. If they're going to call back to an old episode, why not call back to an episode I really liked? So that's kind of okay with me.
And Mud is going to be on this one.
And Mud is going to be on there. So that's also kind of like that. That's almost a connection. So if Mud is the one that causes this cycle, that's a connection of a TNG plot point with an original series character that makes sense. Like, I could totally see Mud causing that kind of hijinks.
Right. So another thing was, when you were watching the trailers, you saw Michael and Ash kiss. I had to watch that trailer, that promo, twice. I was like, I wasn't sure.
I didn't notice that. Spoilers. I didn't notice that.
If you go back and look at it again, you see that. I'm so sorry.
No, why are they? No, don't do it, Michael.
It could be like a dreams.
It's a trap.
Right.
It's a trap.
Anyway,
guess what?
What?
Star Trek Discovery from now on the bridge. It's on the bridge.
So I'll give you that. You called it from day one.
And we'll hopefully get to know some of the characters on the bridge, because there's that android dude, and what's her name that got hurt from the Shenzhou with the eyepiece thing, and I'm hoping we get to know those characters.
Like I said last week, because they seem interesting. When Sarah was the captain last week, and it seemed like the bridge characters were going to get a major part, because it's like we don't know anybody else on the show. We know the major players, we know everyone's sub level, but we don't know anyone bridging up. We've never really had to talk to them as much, or they've never really had to talk to us. And so will any of the bridge players be okay, so I feel like we're finally going to get the Star Trek show that a lot of people want, where the captain comes on the bridge and he's like and he says all the things every Star Trek captain will say before they go on a mission. And I hope, that will make people happy. But next week should be fun. It should be fun. Groundhog Day type episode. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it
too. I'm really excited.
So is there anything? Oh, are we done? We're done. Oh my gosh. Is there anything else? I said, are we done?
Yeah, I think we went through the whole episode. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So is there anything else you'd like to add before we have to do the thing we have to do where we sign out?
Not that I can think of. Nobody listens this far into the cast anyway. So
right.
You can say whatever you want.
I think they do. I think they do. Okay,
I'm just kidding. You're like, oh no, really? They do. They do.
Viewers, I believe you guys really do watch it all the way through. Don't listen to Patrick. I'm here for you. Anyway, but so we've been telling you guys we're gonna do Star Wars for the longest, and everyone had the week they had last week, and we're here this week. So yes, it's happening. Star Wars Rebels is happening. So don't worry about it. Patrick is officially Earth 2. I can't say that enough, and I want you guys, Earth 2, to help me thank Patrick, because we have a website, and a large part of it. So
I think it looks good. Now we can just get the podcast thing going, but we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. So because everything now about the website helps Earth 2 put everything in a centralized area. Our podcast is on the page, and this video is going on the website, and the audio. So we're gonna do video and audio for those of you who like to listen and not really look at our faces. We're gonna have that up there for you.
Plus all our older episodes of Discovery on the website too. So if you want to go back and watch,
so you don't
angry with Anthony.
Yes, you don't necessarily have to come scroll through YouTube. Just go on there, earth2cc.com. Again, I want you guys to help me thank Patrick. Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks. It was fun. I like doing it.
Yeah. Yes. So that is Discovery for the week. The episode again was Lethe. Down in the comment section, let us know what you felt about it. I mean, I personally, again, I liked it. I really want to talk to you guys. So come down in the comment section and talk to us. If you have any questions about how you want us to do this next week, or you have any suggestions, let us know down in the comment section below. I'll definitely take everything into advisement, and I'll shout you out if you want to get shouted out on the show. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Earth 2 is at 100 subscribers, 100 plus. I want to thank I want to thank all the people that have subscribed and all the fans, and I really, really thank you so much, and I love you guys. You guys are really, really helping us out. Oh, by the way, Patrick, we are over 10,000 views on Earth 2. So
what? Amazing.
Yes,
congratulations.
Yes. So there's a lot of good things, that you guys have done, and I want to thank everyone for that. So again, this has been your boy Mo Crosby and
Patrick Day
from Earth 2 Comic Cast.
All right. Cool. Bye, Mo.
Bye.
Are we done?